Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Cannon Chatter TV. It is a lovely Monday night, and the France-Switzerland game is on. If anybody cares about the Euros, that is. I, for one, have not watched a great deal of it, but I'm not going to lie, I have it on in the background over here so I can keep you updated on the score. So, tonight, there is no G of Cannon Chatter G. Lottie is supposed to be here, but is, I assume, running late. Hopefully she will join us in a bit, but if not, it doesn't matter because we are delighted to be joined by Georgina, who also goes by G, who has been on the show once before on Lottie's own show. G, how are you tonight?
Yeah, very good. Thanks. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, and thanks for coming on. I know I spoke to you after Lottie's show and said, I'd love to get you back on one of the other shows as well, so it's great to have you with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks.
So, quite a lot to get through. Obviously, a lot of rumours this week again. Now, that said, they have dropped off a little. There hasn't been quite as many new players that we've been linked to. So some of the rumours we're going to talk about tonight are ones we've talked about before, but obviously it'd be great to get your take on them, G. And obviously we can talk about a wee bit whether they've developed any from the last time that we've talked about them. So with that said, we'll play our entrance video and we'll get into it.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing. The first time it's
So, good evening. As I say, it's the Rumour Mill show, and we are joined by Georgina, and as we're going to call her G, because it just makes my life so much simpler, because I'm so used to saying G. All right, so before we get into the rumours, I just want to have a quick chat with you about, you got a message today on one of your posts, and I know this is something that it's been a big thing lately about obviously online abuse and stuff like that, social media abuse. I know Keith, who's a great follower of the show, put up a video on his Only channel the other day. He's really fed up with online abuse and quite strong language. And if you haven't seen it, drop over to Mostly Arsenal and watch that and give Keith a like. And I know me and Lottie and G have, our own G, have been talking, and we're going to do a show coming up soon where we're going to focus on online abuse and we're going to talk about some of it. So, I mean, without sort of saying what the comment was that was said to you today, how did that make you feel, getting that sort of comment underneath a perfectly innocent post?
Yeah, at first it did sort of stun me, to be honest. I feel very lucky to have not had many of those before. So I think when the first time you sort of see something, it did sort of take me back, and I was at work, so I was just going through my phone, and all of a sudden I got a bit like sweaty and panicky, thinking, oh, if that's the start, is there going to be any more? But sort of as the day went on, I received some really, really nice messages, to be fair. Some amazing people online as well as the bad ones. And I sort of just talked myself out of it and just thought, it's not my fault. I've not actually done anything to this person to make them react. They've just, God knows how, but found me and decided to send it to me. And also I did notice that he sent the exact same message to someone else. So then I sort of brushed it aside and thought, he's obviously trying to get a reaction out of someone. It wasn't personal to me. He's saying it to other people, just trying to get people to kick off. And I suppose in a way I kind of did give him his 5 seconds of fame. But at the same time, I think just showing people that those comments do come through, it's like raising awareness in a way. And yeah, it was good because he's now removed it. So hopefully it's a learning curve and it won't do those sort of things again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know I seen the comment and I didn't comment on it, and that was a very deliberate thing on my point. And it's the same with, I've seen a couple of people do it to Lottie as well, and I make a very clear thing of I don't comment on it because I don't want to give that person any more attention. But yeah, we are, I do want to talk about it more. So, not tonight, as I say, but we do want to give it more focus. So we are going to do a whole show dedicated to online abuse, be it abusing someone because they're female and their opinions on football, be it someone's sexuality in sport, be it whatever it is. We're going to cover all in one show. So with that said, what I want to ask for is anybody who is watching this either now or if you're watching this back later on, if you've had an experience where somebody has abused you online and you don't mind sort of sharing it a bit, if you can drop me an email just at info@cannonchatter.com and just sort of tell me what was said. I'll not mention your names, on air, and will not mention the name of the person who sent it, but I just want to have some examples so that we can sort of highlight the issues and highlight what's actually being said. And we need to sort of get into this. And, it's all well and good. They did a sort of social media boycott for one weekend, but it achieved absolutely nothing. And it's only by talking about it and educating people that we can actually do something about it. And that's what I want to do. So, as I say, if you're watching now or you're watching later on and you have been abused in any sort of way on social media, please drop me an email. Let me know what was said. And if you don't, obviously, if you don't mind me then reading that out. And as I say, your anonymity will be protected at all times. Okay, penalty to Switzerland.
Oh, interesting.
Did not see that. Hold on. Evening, Liam. You were the one just said penalty. Just disgusting behaviour. Trolls with no guts to say such things in real life. Hang strong, Sister Georgina. Yeah, absolutely. G, you're an amazing lady. There you go. Love all around there. Penalty to the Swiss. Dubber Ducky, my favourite name on this platform.
Yeah.
So let me just take that off the screen. Okay. So let's just bear with us 1 wee sec. I see they're going to score this. Who is that? Rodriguez, left back. He was like the Arsenal a couple of years back.
Yeah.
Steps up and Lloris saves it. So still 1-0.
Still in it.
Finally, a Tottenham player did something good. All right, so let's move on. Let's get past the sort of online abuse stuff and let's talk about what we're here for. Excuse me, which is Arsenal transfer rumours. And the first one I want to look at is one that this is the third week in a row now we'll have talked about this one. And it's because it's dragging on. And this is Ben White to Arsenal. Now, 1 minute the rumour is that the deal's agreed. The next minute it's not agreed, then it's agreed, then it's not agreed. And right at this point in time, we don't know where it stands. The last I heard was, Brighton wanted 50 million. And that was before add-ons. They wanted a straight sort of 50 million plus add-ons, whereas Arsenal were offering 45 plus 5 in add-ons. They're confident from all accounts that this is going to get done, but it's just dragging on and dragging on. And often when things drag on, I start to worry a little as to whether they'll actually happen or are we going to pull out of this deal over the sake of a couple of million.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, Ben White, is he a player you want to see at Arsenal? And is he worth £50 million?
Yes, and yes to the first and no. I think Brighton are proper milking the fact that he's now an England international and at a huge tournament to get this sort of money. But if we had a few months ago, if we had gone in with something, I don't feel like this figure would be a thing. I think it may be like the high 20s, low 30s possibly. But I mean, rightly so. If they're going to lose a decent player, they're going to want to get something for him. But it is a lot, isn't it? But then the English player market and everything else, you see other people go for more, and you think that's just kind of what things are now. I think he can offer some stuff to us that we possibly don't have. I'll compare him to Rob Holding, where I know a lot of people like him, but I feel like he doesn't offer us anything going forward. Whereas I think Ben White is quite good at playing on the ball and like picking it up.
Just to interrupt you 1 wee sec. Benzema's just equalised.
Oh, no way. Oh, game on then.
Yeah. So sorry, you were saying Rob Holding doesn't give us.
Yeah, he always, when he gets the ball in an attacking area, he always looks quite panicky and wants to sort of just get it out of his feet and get it to someone else. Or if he has the ball and plays it up, 9 times out of 10, it will just go to the goalkeeper or nowhere near any of our players. So I think in that way, Ben White is more controlled and gives us something else that's different. So yeah, I would be excited, but like you said, you get to a point where you think, it's almost ready to be done, and then like 2 or 3 weeks later, you're still hearing the exact same thing, and you're like, well, is that true? Then you start to doubt it, don't you? And worry it's not going to happen at all.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's rumours as well. The likes of PSG are interested, and there's someone else, I can't remember who it was. There's Charlie in the comments saying my dad knows a few close sources within Arsenal, and they say it's virtually a done deal. Just the Euros is going on. I've already asked if he's lying, but he showed the proof, so I'm excited. So I mean that's. I have to take your word for it, Charlie. I hope you're not another person claiming to be in the know, because I don't believe any in the knows.
No.
I will say, I mean, I always say on these shows, these are rumours. You know, everything we talk about is rumours. There's nothing as a done deal until you see it on Arsenal.com with the player holding the shirt like this. So, 2-1 to France. Benzema again, by the looks of it.
Game over.
Wow, that didn't take long. So, I mean, the thing with Ben White, and this is, you know, it's raised a lot of questions with the Arsenal fan base as to what's going to happen with 1 or 2 players, and obviously William Saliba coming back from Nice from his 6 months loan, and potentially Rob Holding as well, are 2 that are sort of talked about as being potential casualties. Now, my understanding is Ben White's being bought as a replacement for David Luiz, but what does that mean for Saliba and Rob Holding? I mean, I think Saliba has a long-term future at the club. I won't be too disappointed if he was to go out on loan again this season, as long as it was to a high-level Championship club or a Premier League club, to get proper experience within England. I don't want to see him go back out and loan in France. You know, there's just no point in that. So, I mean, well, first of all, with Saliba, I mean, what's your feelings on him?
Yeah, I mean, I think he does deserve a chance, and whether that goes out on loan, like you said, in England to feel what our game is about, or if he is used as like because we're in the second round of the Carabao Cup this time, not the third. So, you know, those sort of games are a good chance to see what he's about. And, you know, he could go again in January to maybe a lower league, a lower version of the Premier League team or something, or, you know. So I think he could definitely be used, not as a starter. I think to throw him in, especially with what some of our fans are like, I think if he made a mistake or 2 early on, they'll be straight on him, and then that's no good either, is it? So I think he could be used for a bit, and then if it's not going to plan or he's not getting any game time because of others, then maybe again in January send him out to an English club.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, do you think Arsenal fans should be worried that he hasn't got a chance yet?
Yeah, you know, I think, was it 30 million? I think we spent.
Round about that, yeah.
I think I've heard. Yeah, I think we were also excited when the video dropped, and he was an exciting young player with a lot of people saying good things. So the fact that he hasn't really had any sort of chance other than I think 2 games in pre-season last year, which obviously pre-season is all well and good, but it doesn't, there's no pressure. You don't see him under pressure and in a real game scenario. So yeah, I think we kept him again till January, didn't we? And then decided to sort of send him out last minute, and he did really well, you know. So it's just a really strange one, but he's got many things personally happening, and we just don't know if he's just not ready to be over here, and he still needed a bit of chance to mature in his game while in his own country.
Yeah, I think, I mean, obviously I think it's pretty much confirmed. He lost both his parents sort of quite close together. They did try to get him out on loan at the start of the season, and that fell through sort of last minute, and then he wasn't given any opportunity. I mean, the thing with Saliba is, and I know I get slated for saying this, but I mean, personally, I think the loan was the best thing for him. He wasn't ready, and I'm still not convinced that he is. He's very good at getting the ball and taking it out of defence, and moving it forward. Yeah. But his defending is still a little bit suspect. He can be a little bit rash in the challenge, and he's not particularly good when it comes to heading the ball either. It's something that needs a lot of work, and you worry what he would be like if you throw him in against like West Ham, who traditionally will just fire the ball into the box and try for headers and stuff.
Yeah,
is he going to cope in games like that? And that would be my concern. The other side of it is he is a 19-year-old kid coming into a club with one of the most divided and toxic fan bases, and I hate using that word, but it is, you are one or the other at an extreme with Arsenal. There's very few people can manage to sit in the middle.
Yeah.
And if he makes a mistake, he will get slated.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the sort of concern. But for me, I still think he's a future at the club. I wouldn't be overly sad if he went out on loan, but I still think he will be with us next season. As you say, potentially up until Christmas, while there's the Carabao Cup and stuff like that. But then that leads us on to Rob Holding is the other one. So obviously Holding signed a new contract last summer, not last summer, but just after the summer, and Arteta was quite keen to keep him. Does see him as quite a sort of senior figure now, although he's only 25. But the rumours are now that, with Ben White coming in, Saliba coming back, that, Holding could be one that could be let go, potentially, if we got an offer in around the sort of 30 million mark. How would you feel about that? If Holding was to go, would you be sad? Would you miss him?
No, I wouldn't. And I know a lot of people, like him because he's English and he has had up against really fierce opponents like Diego Costa, for example. He's always sort of held his own and not let them push him about. But then I think sometimes his basic things don't happen. Many goals you can actually see if there is a header scored against us or something. He's nowhere near the man he's supposed to be marking. And that's his job. And like I said earlier, he doesn't really offer us a lot going forward. So apart from a few blocks here and there, he's just not a type of player that I like. And I think 30 million would actually be pretty good for him, to be fair. And I think I heard or read that there's like 5 Premier League clubs that would be interested. So, having a conversation with them to get a decent price, I don't think is a bad thing at all.
No. I think they'll struggle to get 30 million for him. But again, I'm like yourself. I wouldn't be particularly sad to see him go. He's one that used to sort of say he turned up in big games, and Wenger always had the quote, I'm sorry he didn't cost X amount of £1 million, but he used to turn up in big games. He turned up in the FA Cup final, things like that, and it's only sort of been a few big games. As a season-long player, I'd be okay with keeping him as a squad player, but I don't want him as a regular starter.
Yeah.
And the one thing that you sort of see with Arteta, and you've seen, since he's come in, is he quite regularly changes the backline. He changes his centre-back pairing to suit the game. It's not a case of he has 4 defenders or 5 defenders or whatever it should be that play week in, week out. They alternate, and he plays the best 2 in defence that he feels for that game. And I never want to think of Rob Holding as one of the best 2 to play. I want Rob Holding to be coming in as a replacement because somebody's got injured, and maybe playing 1 or 2 games and then the injured player coming back and replacing them. But as a week in, week out season professional, no. For me, he doesn't offer enough. A couple of comments there. Antonio, toxic is rough, but true, sadly. Some fans are spoiled. Paul, evening Paul. I agree. Rob Holding not our level cut player. And Liam, I feel Holding was good as 3 in a back, but it's totally different type of defender with 2 centre backs for the level we should be at. He should not be a starter. Get good money, then let him go. Yeah, absolutely. The one thing I would say about Holding is he was never helped playing next to Bellerin because he was always having the cover for Bellerin, who was bombing up the pitch and didn't have the legs to get back anymore. So he was always constantly being dragged out, and that was leaving him exposed in the middle, and that that was costing us. And then that made him look bad, and people were saying, "Oh, Holding's a terrible player. He's getting caught out of position all the time." And it's he's getting caught out of position because Bellerin was well out of position in the first place. So
yeah.
But I think long term, no, he's not good enough for where we want to be. If we want to be a serious club and contending for major honours, having Rob Holding as our starting centre back is not going to cut it. And that, unfortunately, that's the case with most of the squad. I've said it about, I'm not Granit Xhaka's biggest fan, as it's well known. He can do a job to a point, but if we want to be serious title contenders, we're not going to be a serious title contender with Granit Xhaka in our midfield. And hopefully we won't have to worry about that. Hopefully he'll be off the roam soon. But that's as much airtime as Granit Xhaka's getting on this show. All right, we'll move on. So the next one then is, let me just bring this up. And this one, I'm going to be honest, I don't know much about because this broke last night, which was Nuno Tavares, I think he's called. Yeah. The Benfica left back. Now, he did play against us earlier in the season, but it's rumoured, and these rumours have really picked up pace today, that potentially coming in as backup left back for less than €10 million. Portuguese under-21 international. I don't think he's played at senior level yet. But, like everybody does, and I say this all the time, YouTube will make anybody look like a star. Nicholas Bentner looks like a world beater on YouTube. But I went and looked him up, and he looks a decent enough player. And for the money being touted, I'd be happy enough with him. What's your feelings on him?
Yeah, it certainly has come out of nowhere, hasn't it? And quite fast, like you said. This, pretty much one of the players I don't really know a lot about, but he's 21. The fee, they're sort of saying, I think it's somewhere between starts to 7 and maximum of 15 with add-ons. It could be anything in between from what I saw earlier. But realistically, we're not looking for a world beater left back because we got one. We need to have someone to back him up when we lose him. And I think spending that money on a 21-year-old, I'd take that every day. And because whenever you get a player, you gamble anyway, regardless of how good they might be. They might not fit in with you. And I would rather put the money into someone young who still has potential to grow than go for someone that's near the end of their career, not as fast and on a high wage. So I would be quite happy with this one, to be fair, and excited to see what he would be like.
Yeah, that's to say he looks a decent enough player. The one thing that sort of strikes me at the minute is if you look at this one, which is rumoured to be now potentially very close, you have Sambi Lukongo, or whatever he's called, the Belgian from Anderlecht, it's rumoured to be very close. We're looking at Aaron Ramsdale as well. We're not going to talk about him tonight, but it's another one that we've rumoured to be in talks with. And these are all potentially squad players. These are not first team starters. With the exception of Ben White, who you would imagine will come in as a first team starter. All of a sudden, these are strength and depth players. These are not the big names that we're expecting. Yeah. So in some ways, I'm kind of looking at this going, well, that's slightly underwhelming. The fact that our first buys are going to be Sambi, this guy, potentially Aaron Ramsdale, and you're going, this is not the big, be excited window we were expecting. But then when you think, well, our problem's always been we don't have strength and depth. to suddenly have these are reasonably good players that we're suddenly going to have on the bench, ready to come in when needed. And then you kind of go, well, this is the money, between those three and Ben White, I think it's roughly about 105 million.
Yeah.
For those four players. And you think, well, we're spending four players or that money on one starter and three squad players.
Yeah.
And we know we need potentially another 3 or 4 starters at least.
Mm-hmm.
How much money are we going to spend, and what are the quality of these players that we may potentially get? And you do start to kind of get a bit excited about it.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I certainly do. I'm kind of thinking, well, hold on. We could be getting the Madisons and the, these sort of players. And that kind of gets me excited. And I'm going, well, yeah, if we got those, we could have a really good season. Arteta could do something with this squad.
Yeah.
Would you be feeling the same? Are you sort of thinking the same way, or?
Yes and no. I think some of the fees, obviously apart from Ben White, we know that's a big one, but I think some of the fees collectively are quite low. We're not like overspending on everyone. And I think as well, that's the one thing for me is it's then who we get rid of to fund the big ones. And last summer we tried and failed to get rid of big ones. And you don't want to be, a part of you is like, I don't want to be coming to the end of the transfer window and you think you've got 3 days left to get like 4 players you really want. But I must say I like that things are coming out so quick. And you know that, people are moaning every day because it's not happening, nothing's official, nothing's been announced. But you think all these international tournaments, you have to accept that things are going to take a little time. But if as it comes to an end, if then each day, I think it's going to have a domino effect. And once the first one is done, if England come out of the Euros, I think then quite soon after we'll probably announce that. And that's one out the way. And then you could do your little squad player ones and then go on again. So yeah, you don't want to get your hopes up too much, but I am certainly excited by the thought of it.
One comment there from Antonio. Let's face it, our youngsters extending their contracts will be our best signings this window, and obviously we've seen in the news. It's not one that I had on the list for tonight, but we'll touch on it briefly. Tierney has signed his new deal. 4 or 5. Sorry, Pogba's just scored to make it 3-1. So that's France 3. Yes, Tierney's just signed his new deal. And obviously he's staying for another 4 or 5 seasons. And some of the things he was saying was just fantastic. Saying basically when he was told he wanted to talk about it, he just wanted to know how long for, not how much, and things like that. And that's just, that's Tony Adams style. Tony Adams used to say the same thing. It's, how long is the contract for? He didn't care how much he was getting paid. He just wanted to sign a new contract and stay at the club. And that's captain material, and that's what you want to hear. Were you happy when you heard Tierney had signed on?
Oh, absolutely. My dad is actually a Celtic fan, so I've known about him for a long time, watched him play for Celtic, and you could just see his quality when he was signing for us. For me, that was huge. I don't think some people, maybe because they hadn't seen Celtic or the Scottish League, but I was so buzzing for it. And he's gone up an extra level since joining us. And yeah, I mean, when you think it's literally his boyhood club. He grew up right next to it. And the fact that he was out kicking the ball with his mates on the day he was told he was coming down to sign for us, that he's so normal and so chill, that just loves the game. And when Celtic's always going to be his team and you can accept that. But when he's openly been like, that's my team, but I love it here. And it's refreshing that he doesn't want to go, oh, I want to go back actually. And he wants to stay and he can see what's happening around him and he just loves it. Like, you just want to hear that, don't you? Because I think so often we hear such negative stories of inside the team or when people leave. So when you get someone that's like that and so keen to stay, I think as a fan, it's just the best.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear as well. He was saying, and obviously there's been the sort of knock-on effect of that on Twitter of the Arteta in people saying how great it was, I'm saying about, how great it is to work with Arteta, and he's a brilliant manager and he loves working with him. And then the Arteta out, people are saying, oh, it's all PR, he's told to say that, he can't say anything different. And Do you know what? I cannot imagine anybody sitting down and telling Kieran Tierney what he had to say. You know, sitting going, "You're not allowed to say this. You know, you have to say this." Nah, you know, the guy's mates with Conor McGregor. You know, he's not going to be told what to say.
Yeah.
He's just not that sort of personality. And I think it's quite a big thing that a lot of players, when they have extended or when they're signing, have said, you know, how key Arteta has been in it. Yes, the football's not been great, and I don't know what your own opinion is, whether you're Arteta in or you're Arteta out. But for me, I really think, you know, if he gets the right players, he deserves the chance to prove what he can do this season. And I think things will improve.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I genuinely do.
Yeah.
So Liam there, I think we're going to spend around 250 million with transfer fees coming in as well. We will 100% bring in at least 3 to 4 key players. I'm assuming you mean that on top of these sort of squad players. Do you think we'll spend that sort of money?
I can't see it. I really can't. You know, if we do, then it'll be a real shock more than anything. But I mean, it's a lot of money, isn't it? And you've got to think of the last year we've had as well. I know they're obviously billionaires, but you know, they've never been too splashed with the cash. And especially when you hear how the payment structure is the last thing that people get till it gets done, and then you think, we're trying to go over a number of years here and not just go, here you go, we want him, have it all, he's ours.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out, really.
Well, I mean, the thing is that 90% of transfers are done as structured payments over a period of time. You know, they're not a case of just handing over 50, 60 million at once. It's only when Arsenal sign a player that this is highlighted. You know, Sky Sports and stuff, you know, they made a big deal of it when it was Pepe. You know, they only signed them because they're doing a structured payments. But yeah, and nearly every other transfer that summer from every other club in world football was done as structured payments over a period of time. That's how football works. It was the same when we signed Willian. You know, Willian reportedly on 250,000 a week, when in actual fact he's on about 100,000. It's just bonuses and signing on fees. And when you add all that up and divide it out by the 3-year term, it works out that he's getting 250,000 a week, but he's not. He's still only getting about 110,000 a week. You know, so Chris, my only question is, where's all the money coming from? 30 million in one, 50 million in another. And where's it been the last few years of small transfer budgets and only loans in Januaries? Yeah, I mean, I think they've taken out a big loan to fund some of this. I'm not necessarily sure it's going to come out of Kroenke's own pocket. But do you know what? I don't care where the money comes from as long as it comes. And as long as we can do some business and sign some quality players. So the next one then we'll look at, and this is another one I wasn't really familiar with, which was Rumour Mill. And all I could think was, where's Scully? You know, because this is one definitely from the X-Files.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know anything about him. Again, it was another one I looked him up on YouTube today, and again, looked at decent player, read into him a wee bit, and yeah, I mean, he looks from all accounts a decent player. I make no secret of the fact that, you know, my number one target for right back is Max Aarons. That's who I want personally. But, you know, I think Rumour Mill probably in around 15, 20 million, something like that. Is he someone you knew much about?
No, literally nothing. I know he's 22 and he's a right back, but he can be interchangeable as well, which is I always think it's quite a desirable feature. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those that's come out of nowhere again, hasn't it? No one's really heard a lot about him. He's not been on anyone's radar. So you do kind of think, is it just some random name someone's decided to say? Because all the other options we know you guys have discussed have really, really gone quiet. And it just feels like you get to a point and sometimes they just want to throw a name out there that is a right back. But yeah, I mean, again, he's young, and it looks like we're targeting younger players now, where they're before their prime. So you have the opportunity to grow them which is, I think it's better. We've been for so long we've been going for the older player experience and all that, and you think actually having a bright new player, young, keen to get in the team, probably is going to do us a lot better. So I would definitely want to look at him a bit more first, I think.
Yeah, I'm the same. I mean, we've been linked with so many right backs. I mean, I did count it at one point. It was about 12 right backs we've been linked with. So
yeah, it's never ending.
But yeah, for me, it's Max Aarons as well. I mean, have you a personal sort of choice or personal preference for who you'd want this to sign for right back?
I would be really happy with him, but when I think the rumours came out, is it Tyler Adams?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah, I was kind
Leipzig.
of a bit like more interested in that one. But again, that one's gone so quiet. You just think, is it something they were teasing us with, and there's nothing in it whatsoever? So yeah, I mean, I know you guys aren't the biggest Bellerin fans, but I'm a bit sentimental with that one. But I do agree that now would be a really good time to sort of end that and move on. So yeah, but I would say my biggest one would be Tyler Adams, I think.
Tyler Adams. Yeah, I mean, for me, he's probably second choice behind Max Aarons. Chris at this rate will have more right backs than the England team. All right. Well, before we move on, we're going to bring somebody in, and only 45 minutes late. We are joined by Lottie. How are you tonight, Lottie?
Hey everyone, I'm good. How is everybody?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Hope I haven't missed anything exciting. I'm definitely going to have to watch this back.
You've only missed the first 45 minutes of the most exciting.
I'm so sorry. Traffic was a nightmare.
YouTube
I do
all week.
apologize. I'm sorry, guys. I'm really sorry.
It's all right. Don't worry. We'll forgive you. We have 4
so.
records. All right. Well, listen. We'll not dwell on you being late for too much, so don't worry. We'll move on because we've still quite a few players to get through. So the next one that again I've seen a lot of rumours this week on, and I'm not. Oh, I thought Switzerland just equalised there. Sorry. The next one is Camavinga. So from all accounts, he had to decide by today whether he was going to sign his new deal with Rennes. If not, he will be for sale. Now, they are rumoured to still be looking sort of 50 to 60 million for him. And obviously some of the big clubs, PSG, Real Madrid, and then smaller clubs like Man United are interested in him. And he's one that we've apparently been doing a lot of groundwork on. If you were to believe all the in the news and stuff like that, we've apparently been trying since November to convince him to come. He is a generational talent. He really is. He's one I would love to see at the club, but I just can't see us spending 50 million on a 17, 18-year-old. Lottie, I know we've talked about him before, but give the folks at home a quick sort of insight into your feelings on this one.
Well, for me, as you said, I'd love to have him at the club myself. I mean, he plays in this, obviously this as a CM and a defensive midfield, and it's what we are missing, I feel. Everyone knows my thoughts on Xhaka at the moment. I can't wait for him to vacate. But looking at his stats and things, and I love watching him play. From what I've seen, I mean, yeah, I just think he's brilliant. He's a joy to watch. At 18 years old, I think he's still got a lot to learn, but he's what we're missing in terms of going forward and actually getting stuck in. And there's no, how do I put it? There's no hesitation of being overcautious. He will end up with a yellow card if he has to. I think he's made 3 appearances in the UEFA Under-21 Championship. I believe he got 1 yellow, and it was 32% minutes out of those 3 games, which for his age is great as far as I'm concerned. I believe he's also played in the Champions League. There was 4 appearances in that. He got an assist, which was bloody brilliant, if I'm honest with you. And again, he got a yellow there as well. So I think this kid wants to play. And I think he's going to need regular football if we're going to develop him. I definitely think he could learn quite a bit off party as well.
Yeah, absolutely. G, is he a luxury we can afford?
I mean, if you want to go to the next level, I think missing out on someone that's so young but so highly thought of is one of those things, isn't it? You think you don't want to see him in 2 years' time playing for someone we probably know and absolutely killing it. But that will hurt. But it's a gamble, isn't it? That amount of money, and you think he hasn't really, like you were saying, his appearances and stuff, and it's good for his age for what he's done. But it's like, is there enough to then go and spend that type of money on him? But yeah, you want a fighter, and I'm cool with people getting yellow cards every now and again if they're doing, a tactical foul to stop us getting him.
Take one for the team.
Yeah, I would love that. So that's one thing you have to weigh up. It's someone do you want to miss out on someone that could be incredible and have someone strong? Because I think Partey's quite strong, so even having him to build off would be immense. But I think it's a lot of money to go straight in with.
Yeah. I put a post out on Twitter about this yesterday about, now's we'll never have a better chance to sign Camavinga than we do now. And this really seemed to rattle the PSG fans because there was quite a few comments on it, calling us a mid-level club and all this sort of stuff. And, it really seemed to get to them. So I think they really want this guy. I didn't have the heart to tell the PSG fans that, they came second in a one-horse race. So they really shouldn't talk about, mid-level clubs and us not being that good. But yeah, for me, he's definitely one I'd love to see. But again, I just don't know if we can spend 50 million on a 17-year-old. You've got to hope that if you do spend it, that his value will rocket. Because he's the sort of player you'd buy accepting the fact that he's not going to be there for the rest of his career. He's going to move on at some point. He's going to want to go to a Real Madrid or a Barcelona, potentially even a PSG at some point. And if he does well and they come in and offer silly money for him, then yeah, it's a good investment. But it's a big risk, as you say, G, for a 17, 18-year-old. Liam, 100% would be a statement. If we went for this lad, just can't see it happening.
It's 3-0.
3-0.
Oh my god! I saw the
Wow.
Spain game earlier. That was absolutely mental. I mean,
Good game.
oh my god! Extra time it is. How many minutes left, guys? Just out of curiosity.
It's in 90, but they're not saying. It doesn't say plus yet.
Ooh.
Wow.
Interesting.
Definitely. The last one was.
Xhaka to be out so he can go to Roma tomorrow.
Yeah, he can stay in Rome as far as I'm concerned after his recent comments.
Yeah, I was like, get it done so we can move on.
Yeah, it's like, okay, shut up. Move on. Don't want to hear it anymore.
Absolutely.
Right. The next rumour then is one I would say for the ladies, because from what I can gather, this gentleman seems to be quite I'm just trying to think of the words. The ladies seem to like him.
Easy on you.
Say. And that is Locatelli, the Italian midfielder. And you can see there by Lottie's face straight away. So, Lottie, you can just drool for a wee minute. And G, tell us, what's your thoughts on Locatelli?
Yeah, he looks good. Like, he'll put himself about.
Now, when you say he looks good, do you mean he's a pretty boy or he's a good player?
No. Wrong type of word there. He looks a good player. Yeah, he really puts himself about. I think he's an engine for them. And as good as they have been this tournament, the games that he hasn't been a part of, they have sort of lacked and have been questionable in midfield. So I think he looks the part, to be fair, in a player term. But I think it's difficult sometimes when someone it kind of has a spotlight in the Euros as such, because, you know, if he is Italian, he probably would get a nice offer from Juventus. And that's probably going to be the thing that snaps him away, isn't it? So sometimes these Euros aren't great because they make these players go to the much bigger clubs. But I would be quite happy to have him in the team for sure.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he looks a class act. He really does. The whole Italian squad look good. There's very few of them that aren't good players. Rumored to be available for around about 40 million, and it's fairly certain that he is going to move on this summer. However, Juve are obviously heavily linked with him, and there seems to be a thing with Italian players that not many of them seem to ever want to leave Italy. They all seem to want to stay in Italy and play for the Juves and the AC Milans, the Inter Milans. They don't seem to want to take that risk and travel abroad and broaden their horizons. So I think personally this is a very hard deal to get done. Rumours are we have made an approach for him. Again, they're just rumours, so whether we choose to believe it or not it's entirely up to you as individuals. Lottie, would you want to see Locatelli in an Arsenal shirt?
Regardless if I think he's good looking or not, definitely. I've been impressed with him in the Euros completely. I mean, he's a 50-50 start for them at the moment. He's had 3 appearances, 2 brilliant goals. I've just really enjoyed watching the Italians in general, but for me, it's him and what's his name? The one that looks like Bradley Cooper. Pair of them have just been absolutely a joy to watch, and just to see them out there enjoying their football. I mean, if we could get him over to England, that would be better, especially if they sort of like fit within the squad and they learn how to play English football. And I'm going to say this in a roundabout way, but English football, because obviously the way they play over there is completely different to here in Germany and wherever else we get these players from, and it takes time for players to settle. I mean, it took Pepe all season long. But I can't wait to see what he brings, because he's settled now. Let's do it.
Yeah. VCJ, sorry, this will not happen. He's going to play in the Champions League. Yeah, I mean, I say much as I would love to see him, I just can't see it happening. I don't think it's anything to do with the money. I think 40 million from... If you look at the figures being banded about for the players that we're potentially going for, I don't see 40 million as being a problem at all. But I do think the not having European football for someone like this, who is attracting interest from the likes of Juve, I just can't see us winning the race for him. I really would love to, but yeah, I'm with Weezy J there, and I just don't think it's going to happen. All right, we're going to take a short break, and we will be right back, so don't go anywhere. And I just realised I was on mute there, so you couldn't hear a word I was saying. Thanks for telling me. I was just saying that I'm with Weezy J. I can't see Locatelli signing for us.
Oh no, we heard that, Stephen.
Oh,
we heard that. You went on mute when you played the video. We heard you. Don't worry.
Don't know what was going on there. Sorry, my apologies then.
No worries.
Too many of these tonight.
Bloody hell, that's a head and a half. What's going on there? Wow. That's a massive head. It should be like that. I swear. Am I right or am I wrong, G?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just pull that yourself.
Yeah, because it's not a clean. It wasn't a clean glass, and it's coming from a tin.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Okay. Okay. I'll let you off.
I'm an Irishman. How to pour a pint. Right, we'll move on. So the next one in the midfield, again, this is another one that seems to, for me, it seems to have come very much because he's had some good performances in the Euros. Although, again, if you believe the in the know people, he's one that we've been talking about and looking at for a while. And it's this guy, which is Renato Sanchez, formerly of Benfica. Then he went to Bayern Munich, spent the season on loan at Swansea, where he didn't really do much for me. And he has now gone, he's had the last 2 seasons at Lille, and obviously French champions last season, and seems to have really, he's revived his career. He was one that was sort of touted as a wonder kid. And obviously that season at Swansea just did him no favours whatsoever. G, feelings on Renato Sanchez? Is he, is he the sort of player that Arsenal need? He's very much a central midfielder. Could you see him playing alongside Partey in our midfield?
Yeah, I've been amazed by him. Let's not. Well, you can say that Portugal is full of superstars, and that's not the name that you would think. But especially last night, I thought he was the one. He has so much power that he just literally just flicks off people, and they're throwing themselves at him. They just bounce off. Even in a race, you thought he'd lost the ball, and the opposition player was closer. He still managed to outrun him and take it off. He's that. I think he would be a really good addition, and he's that kind of player that we don't have. You don't see someone that's physically super strong and can still play and have pace. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a credit to him as well. It obviously didn't work out over here. I think he had some injuries at Swansea too. But to then go through that and then come out of it the other side and be one of the names that everyone is talking about now, it just shows how his mentality is. He wasn't going to, it didn't work for him over here, but he's worked hard to get back up there and is now pretty much should be a starter for Portugal in a team that is just ridiculous anyway. So yeah, I would be interested, but I can't really see it happening.
Yeah, when you consider some of the midfielders Portugal have, like José Moutinho, Neves, I can't even think of who else. There's some fantastic midfielders there, and he has been getting in every game. I think the big thing for me is he's available for around about 27 to 30 million, apparently, because obviously they'll need money. The French league desperately need money. Their TV deal fell through, and they're all going to struggle. And you can see that with Awar potentially being available for sort of 20-25 million. So if you think of it that way, Lottie, would you rather see Sanchez come in or go for the likes of Basuma, who's Premier League proven? They're going to be right about the same sort of money. Who would you go for? I'm
a Basuma fan. I mean, he's Premier League proven. I enjoy watching Brighton in general anyway. But it'd be Basuma. I mean, Renato Sanchez has been great through the Euros. Obviously, I haven't seen him in the French league, but obviously seen him play for Portugal. I think last night for me, he really stood out as exactly what as G said. And he's one of the very few Portugal players that actually kept their headless last night as it all fell apart. And I was quite impressed, especially for his age. But yeah, no, I'd have Basuma in a heartbeat.
Okay. All right. So Basuma over Renato Sanchez. I think what we're going to have to do at some point on one of these shows, I had said last week about how I had sat and done a squad and sold all the players and picked the players I would do. I think we may have to do a wee show over the next week or two where we take all these rumours and we build a squad. And we see, what the sort of favourites are for coming in. We'll get that organised. Just before we go any further, just want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors, who are Sport Bucket Hat. You can find them on the Etsy store, Sport Bucket Hat, or on Twitter at sport_hat. And obviously, as always, to the Matchday shop, Dan down there in London, as always, sponsors all of our shows. And if you don't want to spend your money on Arsenal at the minute, go in and see Dan, or go on to the matchdayshop.com and spend your money there on some memorabilia and other bits and pieces. And he will soon hopefully have the Cannon Chatter mugs available for sale on there as well. So you'll be able to get your Cannon Chatter mugs, and t-shirts and stuff will be coming soon, but that'll be done a different way. Right, the next one. And I didn't have this on the list, G, so this is a wee surprise for you. It's one that Lottie told me I had to include because you just love talking about him so much.
Gee, I am sorry.
Um,
I forgot. So I'm apologising now before he reveals who it is. I do
Yeah.
apologise.
Is it someone to be in or out?
It's something
This
we
is
both hate.
this is a potential outgoing, but it's rumored that they're going to take up the option of the extra year on his contract. Everybody's good friend,
Sorry,
Mario
Jake.
Guendouzi. I mean, for me, this idea of taking up the extra year, it's very much to increase his value. You know, if he's got 2 years left in his contract, we can potentially charge a little bit more to the likes of Marseille or Benfica, whoever it is that are looking at him. But if Arteta was to turn around and say, all right, we'll give you another chance, how would you feel?
No, thank you. The way I see it is, without the way I feel about him, we've had this season completely without him. And apart from the people that are like pro him, who would just worship him regardless, I don't think I've ever looked at a game and thought, do you know who we're really missing here? Not once has his name popped into my head. And I just think, like, yes, I get that some people think he's young, he's got fight in him, he's got a bit of like attitude. I don't rate that. You know, he, for his age, to brag about how much money he's on just says a lot about our club, really, doesn't it? And yeah, I just don't think we need the aggro from it. I really don't. But I also don't like. I know what you mean by adding another year, so we could potentially get more, which is smart. But then it just keeps seeming to me that every time we get close to getting rid of some people we really don't need to improve our squad, we then just give them another loan, and they're still on the books. They're still lingering within the club, and sometimes you just gotta let them go. And if he turns out to be amazing, then so be it. We've been through it before. You know, no one's bigger than the club for me, so he can go.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, you look at some of the players we've let go, Gnabry, you know, Daniel Malin playing last night for the Netherlands and stuff. We have let some really good players go, but you're right, you have to at times. Chris saying there, Guendouzi, I just don't see what he brings to the team. I said before I would happily cancel his contract as no clubs are interested in signing him for the money we would want. Yeah, I mean, there's part of me agrees with that in the sense that, you know, again, it's the Arteta out contingent that are saying, oh, Guendouzi was worth 50 million last season and, you know, Arteta ruined them and this sort of thing. And, well, he went out on loan and his value decreased. Joe Willock went out on loan and his value increased. So how's it, you know, is that Arteta's fault as well? You know? So for me, Guendouzi, he has talent, but he needs to control his attitude. And, you know, Lottie, is there anything Guendouzi could do that would make you be happy for him to stay at the club?
Nope, I quite happily cancel his passport, shred it up, and let him stay in France. He's not good enough. His attitude stinks, and he just doesn't fit with the club. He doesn't go with our values. No.
Okay.
Nothing will ever change my mind.
Yeah.
Fair enough. We'll not waste any more time on him then. So Liam, Guendouzi, for me, will never turn out to be amazing. His attitude will always be a problem. If he was that good, all the big clubs would be going for him. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a point I was actually going to make was, you know, 50 million, but no one offered 50 million for him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it wasn't like those clubs beating down our door to sign him. And the best we could do was get him a loan to Hertha Berlin. And even now, you know, the best we can do is potential move to Marseille. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if he was that good, where are the Madrids and the Barcelonas and PSGs? You know, why are none of them coming in to sign him? And Chris, again, he's another who's on more trouble than he's worth. So just let him go and take the hit. Okay. Right, we'll move on. And we will move on to the attacking midfield position. And obviously, we know we need a number 10. We have Smith Rowe. And again, Aston Villa coming in with another supposedly laughable bid today. I don't know what's going on over at Aston Villa at the minute, but coming in with these bids for a player that we've no intention of selling. But we do need competition for him. And that's the thing, you know, Smith Rowe can play in a couple of different positions, but we do need competition at that number 10. And, you know, it's very heavily rumoured that Arteta wants a top name there. You know, he doesn't want someone to sit as second fiddle. He wants a real top name to really push. And I think it's smart to bring someone in, you know, a real good quality player who's going to push Smith Rowe. I think he needs that. So another one we've been linked with, and it's seemingly we're linked with him in every window at the minute, is this guy, Philippe Coutinho, who went to Barcelona for a staggering 160 million or whatever ridiculous it was from Liverpool. And Liverpool used that money to win the league. They potentially, I think, as far as I know, they still owe Liverpool money on him, but they're willing to let him go just to get him off the books for around about 17, 18 million.
Bargain.
G, we'll come to you first on this one. I mean, Coutinho, would you take him in an Arsenal shirt at that money?
No. Like, yes, he did have some really good moments, but he was in a poor Liverpool team at that point, let's be honest. Like, he really was. He was good at set pieces and a good old wonder strike. But what he had around him, apart from Luis Suarez, obviously, he didn't really have a lot else. They didn't have a lot else going for them. So you're going to stand out in a team that's barely like average around you. The money that some of these clubs pay for these people, and then it's just ridiculous. It then brings up everyone else to a ridiculous amount of money, doesn't it? And it just doesn't work most of the time. And I'm just not. I think he's a player that wouldn't really bring. I don't think he'd bring much different to what we have, and especially he's obviously pushing on 30 as well. So I want someone a bit younger to really. So then he's competing properly with Smith Rowe, and then can bring him more. But it's a no from me.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly, for me, he was never worth 160 million. Barcelona went through a stage where they were just paying silly money to get their players in, and they're, you know, you can see the damage that's done to them now that they're having to just bring people in free transfers. Ousmane Dembele was another one. Not worth 120, 130 million reportedly paid for him, you know, maybe 60 or 70 million, but certainly not worth double that. Lottie, Coutinho, if he came to Arsenal, would you be happy?
Honestly, I don't think Smith Rowe could learn anything off him. I mean, as Jace just said, he's had his moment, and although it looks like a bargain price for him and his like caliber, it's like, no, you've had your time here. Someone else can have you. I mean, as you said, like these people are paying stupid money for players. I mean, I'm probably going to get a load of hate for this, but Harry Kane, I'm just going to mention Harry Kane here. Him being valued at 100 million. No way. I'd say 80 max. I don't know what you guys think, but the prices people are getting valued at the moment is just ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Even 160 million was a joke.
It's because of these ridiculous ones that then everyone's like, we can get more now because they're not worth that, and they're getting it. And then it pushes the whole market up to unrealistic values. No,
definitely. There needs to be some financial control because it's just getting beyond ridiculous. I mean, most of the clubs at the moment, they're on verge of collapsing because of the amount of debt. I mean, I'm hoping this 250 million loan, whatever we've taken off the bank, is not true. That's the last thing we needed. Things are expensive enough for the fans already. So, but back to Coutinho, it's a no from me.
Yeah, just on the Harry Kane thing, I mean, you're saying there about, obviously, when we're talking about values of players. For me, and again, I'm saying this as a football fan. I'm not just saying this as an Arsenal fan, so it's not a biased Arsenal fan opinion. For me, Harry Kane's not worth any more than about 60 million. I actually think at 27 years old, with his injury record, he has been shown up quite a bit in this European Championships. He is not as quick as he used to be. He doesn't have the turn of pace that he used to have. I personally think that Harry Kane is on the way down. I think he's hit his peak and he's on the way down. And if any team spends over 100 million on Harry Kane, they're mugs. And I just don't. For me, as I say, I know people will watch this and say, "Oh, you're an Arsenal fan, and that's why you're saying it." You take aside the fact he's a cheat, he's a diver, and I'm saying that because I just don't like
He
him.
plays dangerously.
Yeah,
He's just so dangerous. He's going to hurt someone. And I think the idiots will be Man City.
yeah. But for
They
me,
get
he is as a player. He's on the decline, and I think we've seen the best of Harry Kane. He may, don't get me wrong, depending on where he goes, he may have one more really good season. But I think after that, he will, you will see a real steady decline from him over the next few years. And I think, to be honest, I think Harry Kane will be done by the time he's 31, 32.
Yeah.
So that's my personal opinion on it.
I think he'd be done by 30. I mean, his decline has gone so bad. He's been invisible this Euros. Yeah. Like domestic stuff aside, he has been poor. He's been invisible. Yeah. I've enjoyed watching Sterling more. That's saying something.
As for Coutinho, I think the whole thing with Coutinho is it's agent driven. You know, it's an agent link, and obviously it's that link with Edu and the Brazilian sort of thing. I'm not sure how much interest we really have in Coutinho, and I really hope that we don't see him ever in an Arsenal shirt. I think a couple of years ago, maybe, but not now. I think he's just, again, he's another one. He's on the decline.
Yeah. How old is he now? That's the point.
29.
29. Yeah, he's coming to the end. There's no point. Not even for that money, if I'm honest.
So a couple of comments then before we move on. WCJ, definitely not. Why are Arsenal going backwards for their other brilliant midfielders out there? Absolutely. As I say, though, I do think it's agent driven. And as I always say, all of this is rumours. None of it, and it's the one thing, and I'm not saying this about you, WCJ, I'm saying this about Arsenal fans in general. You see people kick off as soon as a rumour comes out. Arteta needs to go, Eddie needs to go, whoever else needs to go, because we've been linked by the press to a player. It's not like Arteta has come out publicly and said, we want to sign, in this case, Coutinho, or we want to sign someone else. He's not saying that. This is all just rumours. We don't know where they're coming from. It could be coming from inside the club. It could be coming from agents trying to get new deals or trying to get their players to transfer to somewhere else. It could be coming from the players themselves trying to push for a move. You just don't know. So take it all with a pinch of salt. We love talking about it, and we building a channel at the minute off it, and building our shows off of it, because we love talking about it. And I said to the guys the other night, this is like my soap opera. This is like EastEnders to me. Transfer gossip, it really is. I'd far rather sit and watch a load of transfer news than I would all these other EastEnders and Hollyoaks and all that sort of stuff. Liam, Coutinho, ship has sailed for me. Fully agree with you guys. We need young, hungry players to play that role. Chris, I've watched Kane live and he just didn't look fit. His play looks tired and laboured when he's running. And 160 million is stupid money. Don't see Arsenal spending that much. Lottie is absolutely correct. Chris, again, for me, regardless if it's Coutinho or Ramsey on a free, ESR should be our starting number 10 next season. Whoever comes in should be his reserve.
Yeah. Stephen, I just want to go back to Liam's comment about having young, hungry players. Yeah. I love the idea of that, but we need some experience. We're aging on averagely on 20 years old. We will get destroyed by players that are like 27, etc. I like the idea of it, but we need to find that balance.
Okay. Last one then, don't mention Kane. If Cannon Chatter gets 1,000 subs, I have to get a Kane shirt. That's correct.
Yeah, I've actually got a bet on. It's got to be an England shirt though. That's where I can cut some slack for Antonio, I'm afraid. But he's going to get a Kane shirt if we get to 1,000.
Okay.
So get subscribing, guys. We need you. We want to see Antonio in that Harry Kane shirt.
We do, and we want to see G with his bleach blonde hair. And
I want to see you with your bleach blonde hair too.
Listen, we'll come on to that all in a minute. But for anybody in the chat, actually, if you haven't done already, make sure to hit that like button because we need those likes as well, and that all helps. Right, we'll move on. There's not too many more to go. You'll be glad to hear. So the next one, Eddie and Kedia. Again, another one rumoured to have been potentially offered a 1-year extension to potentially, again, increase his value. But I think it's fairly evident his time at the club is done. West Ham have been again linked with him for potentially in sort of 12 to 15 million. Lottie, thoughts on Nketiah?
Let him go. He doesn't fit here anymore. Hasn't done anything in particular that I'd say, oh yeah, let's get him in, let's get him to start. I still feel we should throw him in to Brighton because they need something up front. If we do buy Basuma as a part of a deal, we'll knock the price down a bit. But no, I understand that protecting his price, but other than that, no, I wouldn't. Just let him go.
Okay. G?
Pretty much
Nketiah?
pretty much the same. Like, I don't hate the kid. I think in the cup games when he's been given a chance, he has actually saved us on a couple of occasions. You can't fault his heart, but sometimes not every single academy player has to stay. It's a good option to try and cash in on some of them. And especially when you got Balogun signing a new deal, it kind of makes you think, are they going to sway towards him? And you don't want to have both of them and then neither of them get any time. You got to give someone a good chance. And yeah, I think he would do really good in like a Watford or like Brighton or something. He's young, and yeah, a good little fee for him. I'd be fine to see him go.
Okay. I'm the same. I mean, I've said many a time that Nketiah, to me, he's a goal poacher, and we don't play the sort of football that requires a poacher. We don't. A 5-yard player is not going to fit in at Arsenal. So for me, yeah, Eddie can go. West Ham, Brighton, sort of looking at him, 12, 15 million pound. I'd be happy enough with that. So, WCJ, please let this be true. Eddie just not what Arsenal needs. He doesn't bring anything at all. Yeah, agree. So one of the players then that we have been linked with in terms of the forward line, and obviously this is dependent on whether Lacazette would go. And that's also obviously still very much up in the air at the minute. But someone we have been linked with is Dominic Calvert-Lewin at Everton. And obviously he's with the England squad at the minute, although I don't think he's played a single minute in the Euros. I'm going to start off on this one, if you don't mind. He's potentially linked for sort of 50, 60 million. And to me, I think if we're going to spend that money, we might as well, pay the 60 million and get Isak from the Swedish international. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin is one of the best headers of the ball in European football. He really is. When I think about the likes of Tierney throwing in crosses into the box and Calvert-Lewin getting on the end of them, how many goals would he get? And that is a big plus for me. So, I mean, if we're not going to get Isak, then yeah, I'd be all for getting Calvert-Lewin in. Lottie, what's your feelings on Calvert-Lewin?
Completely agree with you. I mean, just as you were saying that, I was actually sitting there picturing crosses in from Saka. Even that, I just think he'd be straight on the end of it. For me, I find, I don't know, his aerial presence is great for me. And I think that's what we're majorly missing since we let Giroud go. I mean, Aubameyang, he doesn't have an aerial presence. Lacazette's too short for it. But yeah, no, I'd love to see him in an Arsenal shirt, but 50, 60 million, make it about 40 for me, I think. And then maybe I'd consider having him in the shirt.
Yeah, I mean, I think I say that's a sort of rumored figures. It's the English tax, as it's sort of known, and that's where I'm saying.
No, I know that, but he hasn't had any minutes. So for me, that's partly why as well. If he'd had a minutes and scored, maybe. Yeah,
but I'd say for me, if you're going to spend that sort of money, you go for Isak. But that's personal preference. G, what's your feelings? I mean, Calvert-Lewin, would that excite you seeing him in an Arsenal shirt?
It would, to be honest. I think he's had such a good season this year. Like, he was really up there in the goals, wasn't he? I think he sort of leveled out towards the end, but it just shows when they got some real creative players, he was then firing. And it makes you think, if he had even better creative players, what could he be doing there? I think yeah, like Lottie said, we don't have that sort of player apart from the occasional defensive goal from a header or a set piece. We don't really have that, and especially when you've got Tierney constantly putting in crosses and no one's there, he would always be there. He just knows where to be. His presence is like he's got such a big presence about him, and the height he can get in some of his jumps. Even someone that's taller than him, you'd put money on him to get ahead of them. Yeah, I think he's exciting. He also does hold the play up quite well, which is obviously what Lacazette does, leaving other people to come in. So I think he's a real team player as well, and I would definitely be interested.
Okay. Chris just saying there, Arsenal have become a crossing team in recent years, so it would be perfect for us. And Liam, Calvin Lewin would be a great signing. I struggle to see Everton selling him, but he was an Arsenal fan, so you'd like to think that would help our strength. Ideal for players like Pepe and Saka as well. Yeah, absolutely. As I say, I mean, for me personally, I can't think of many better headers of the ball. Mustafi is probably the only better header of a ball. And you're laughing, but Mustafi was one of the finest headers of the ball we've ever had at the club. He couldn't defend for chocolate, but he was a great header of the ball.
If he was going the right way, I'd agree, but most of the time he wasn't.
Yeah.
Sorry, Stephen. just gone. I can't. I dislike him more than I like Guendouzi.
Oh, listen, I can't stand Mustafi, and I'm so glad he's not at the club anymore. But he was.
No, I still haven't got over Tottenham 2019 at Wembley, 1-0 up, and he gives a penalty away to Kane. Whole of Wembley was silent, and there was just a small group of us making all the noise. It was great, and then he screwed it up.
All right, so you'll be glad to know, folks, we're nearly there. So start thinking of any more comments or questions you have for any of us, and drop them in. But the last player we want to look at, that I have on my list anyway, is a link or a rumour that I seen today for another Italian player, which again then sort of I take with a very big pinch of salt, because as I say, Italians generally don't want to leave Italy. But it was for the forward Andrea Belletti. And I keep going to say Andrea Bocelli, and that would be a completely different player. So Belletti, I mean, at first it was one that I kind of thought doesn't really excite me. And then I actually went and looked up his stats. He's captain of Torino, and he averages a goal or an assist every other game. And I was quite surprised by that. And when you sort of then go, 30 million, that he's 27, so he's still, he's coming into his prime. Is he someone that, Arsenal fans would really get behind? G, is he someone that firstly, do you know much about him? Have you seen him play much? And would you be interested in seeing him come to Arsenal?
Not until the Euros, to be fair. And then when he's come on, and I think he started their third game, I was really impressed with him, and I was like, "Who's this guy?" He was putting a proper shift in, putting himself about. He was strong, and the type of player that you want up top. Like, he will work. He won't just expect things to come to him. He will go down and chase the ball out the wing and win it back. He looks like that type of hungry striker. It would be something. It wouldn't be like a first choice or anything, but if it was to happen, I wouldn't be mad about it. I'd be fairly excited as well, to be fair.
Okay. Lottie?
I've seen him play a few times again in Serie A against Udinese this season. I probably said that wrong again. Do apologise, anybody who is a Serie A fan. I mean, he's had, 35 appearances for them this season, 13 goals and 17 assists. That's probably about 40% goal participation. But yeah, no, as I said, I've watched him a couple of times in Series A. I've watched him in the Euros, but it's a case of who would he start ahead of Aubameyang or not? can we play them side by side? I wouldn't be sure where he'd fit, personally.
But then you could say the same thing, arguably, for any of the strikers we're linked with. You know, if we're going to go with Aubameyang in the middle, then why spend money on an Isak or Calvert-Lewin, Belotti? You know, why spend any of this money? Why not just play Aubameyang in the middle, and then you've got Balogun there? I'm trying to think who else we actually have then. If Nketiah and Lacazette were to go, we wouldn't have anybody else really, would we? Martinelli could play through the middle, you know, so, you know, and we don't have the added pressure of, you know, the extra games of the European competitions. So do we need another striker? I think is the question.
I think we do, but it's got to be the right person. I feel that Aubameyang doesn't see Lacazette as a threat, more of his friend, even though they're strangers on the pitch. We need someone to relight his fire and get him scoring again. I mean, we saw him drop off at the end of the season and it was bad. And we haven't seen him do that, which was really quite concerning. Yes, he's been ill. Yes, he got benched by Arteta, but it took him too long to respond. We did that to Lacazette and he was back fighting for his spot. I still can't quite fathom why that didn't happen with him. But we need someone to challenge Aubameyang and get him scoring again. And getting him wanting to play.
Yeah, okay. That's kind of it in terms of the players I've sort of heard about this week. Either you guys heard of anybody else that we maybe haven't mentioned?
No, you've got all of them, I believe.
It's quite quiet this week, isn't it?
It has been. Well, that's what I said at the top of the show that, you know, we're starting now to find that we are starting to talk a wee bit about players we've talked about before. So yeah. All right, G, I want to put you on the spot slightly. And obviously, as we talked about earlier on, before we came on air, you know, we've been linked to, I would say, the guts of nearly 100 players already. It's crazy the sum of the players we've been linked to. But not just in the ones we've looked at tonight, but of all the players you've heard links to, and even maybe ones that you haven't, who do you want to see come into Arsenal more than anybody, and why?
You know what? I know we obviously have so much attacking options, but I just can never take my mind away from Jack Grealish. I think he's just one of those. We haven't had it for England for so long. Someone to really step up, because in our league it's so natural for the overseas players to come and take it and be classed like the best. And I think he's just so matured so quickly, and he deserves to be in a bigger team, obviously. But I just think that so many of the attacking players form into the same type of player, and you get bored because you think you can switch like 3 of them and they do the exact same thing. Whereas I think he's not fixed. He'll go everywhere. He just wants to have the ball, which you don't really see too often. So I would really, if we were going to go between him and Maddison, I would rather us spent the money on him. But I also do think it's probably way too unrealistic. Yeah, and it's not the area we particularly need, but he's the type of player that then pushes you on a bit more, doesn't he? So my number 1 would be him for sure. Okay,
excellent. So Jack Grealish. Chris, I still think Aubameyang's best position is on the left, cutting inside and sweeping it into the corner. He seems to get lost when he's in the middle and doesn't affect the game as much. Yeah, I kind of said the same thing. He does, and then other people say differently, that, you know, he does more when he's centre forward. I just think when Aubameyang's not scoring, he doesn't really offer much to the team at all. And that's a personal opinion. All right, anybody that's watching live, if you've any last questions, drop them in now, and we'll come back to them in a wee minute. Just before we sort of round things up, I want to talk very quickly about something that we are setting up. We have just started a Fantasy Premier League football thing. I'm not sure what it's called.
Fantasy Football League.
Fantasy Football League, that's it. Lottie is going to run it for us. Very kindly is going to look after it. But we have got it set up, and if anybody is interested in joining our league, we are using the fantasy.premierleague.com. It's the website you can go to register for it, or you can download the Premier League app, and the entry code is CS2YNA. And obviously we'll put that out on Twitter and stuff as well, and we'll advertise that quite a bit. I think maybe closer to the start of the season, Lottie, you can give us a bit of a run through on the finer points of things like triple captaining and stuff like that, because I've not got a clue what any of that is. I had a look at it last night and picked the team and stuff. But we'll maybe go through that a bit closer to the time.
I'm honest with you, Stephen, it's going to be the first season I'm playing. I mean, I'm playing around with the Euros app at the moment. I'm not doing too badly. So I'm definitely up for this season. I think it could be a lot of fun. Yeah,
we'll do it. And we'll have a prize for the winner at the end of it as well. I will have a chat with some of our sponsors and see what we can maybe do about getting a good prize for the end of the Premier League season, for the winner of our little fantasy Premier League league. Yeah, so as I say, fantasy.premierleague.com, or go to the Premier League app and download that onto your smartphone now, and use the entry code. Screenshot this and make sure and join in. We'll have some fun with that, and obviously a lot of you can go sort of regular updates through the season on how it's going. I think there's cup competitions and stuff in it as well.
Yep.
All right, well, before we come back to the comments, Lottie, do you want to run through our socials for us?
Yep, sure. Thank you for everyone tuning in tonight. If you want to come and follow us on Facebook, you can just look us up on Cannon Chatter. We're on Instagram, and that's Cannon_Chatter. We're even on Twitter as well. You can follow the channel's main account, Cannon Chatter. If you want to follow Stephen, it's SB Cannon Chatter. Or if you want to follow RG, it's at G Talks Arsenal. If you want to follow me, it's Lottie with 2 I's _B. Or if you want to relive last season, you can go and check out my blog, which is lottieafc.blogspot.co.uk. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and turn those notification buttons on.
Okay, thank you. And just before we come to you, G, I just want to go back to the very start of the show. We kicked off just talking about online and social media abuse, and if anybody has experienced it and wants to share a little bit about their experiences, if you can drop us an email on info@cannonchatter.com. And we'll use those in the show that we're going to be doing coming up. We're going to do a Lottie show, and that's going to be on sort of social media abuse, be it if you're a female and you feel you've been abused over your views on football, if it's a sexual discrimination because of your, whether if you're gay, you're straight, whatever it should be, if you feel you've been abused because of that in football, let us know, share your stories. We won't mention any names of either you as the person telling us or of the person that said the comments, but we want to have an understanding for the sort of things that are being said to people. So with that said, G, we'll come to you. Thank you for being on the show tonight. If people want to follow you, where can they catch up with you?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. So on Twitter, if you follow @LilTrigger2, you can find me there. And on Wednesdays, I also do a podcast called Round the Keeper. So if you fancy it, pop in.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, last couple of questions and things. Chris would say Grealish, because him joining would send a clear message to other clubs that we are serious. It would be like when we signed Bergkamp and made other clubs sit up and take notice. Antonio, love the show, thank you. Listening to the commentary from all the genders of people is fascinating me. Football is for everyone. Absolutely. It should be completely inclusive. Great show again, guys. Really enjoyed it. Thank you. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button if you already haven't. And if you have, thank you for doing it. And WCJ, I feel 5 to 6 players will leave, but I really feel that we will only bring in 3 players then in January loan deals. It's an interesting viewpoint. I differ completely. I actually do think we're going to do some deals. I'm not confident that they're going to be the deals we need, but I do think we're going to bring in more than a couple of players. But we'll wait and see. You'll be back on Wednesday night with G for the Three Lions Road to Wembley for a review of Germany's victory tomorrow night against England. And Harry, did I say that? Did I give away the scoreline? Sorry.
Where's G when where's Archie when I need him? Stephen. I don't know what to say to you.
Yeah, no, you guys will be back on Wednesday night to discuss the match. Good luck to England tomorrow night. You'll need it. No, listen, do you know what? The Germans have snuck through the group. They, last minute they pulled it out of the bag and they snuck through the group, and it's set up for them to go to the final. It really is.
I think the only way that's going to happen if Southgate goes with his favourites, he benches Saka, and Arsenal Twitter, as well as the England Twitter, will have a meltdown, as well as and mention Grealish. Mm-hmm. Them two are going to cause absolute havoc if they get the start.
I'm going to say now, right? You all know, I make no secret of it. I don't really care about the Euros, even though I have this lovely Euros football here in the box and everything. I don't really care about the Euros, and it's not that I have anything against England. I really don't care. I just like winding you up. However, I am going on record now, and I'm going to say this: if Southgate doesn't pick Saka in the starting lineup, I'm supporting Germany tomorrow night.
I'm not watching it tomorrow night. I'll literally look at that lineup and I'll turn everything off. You won't hear from me. I won't be around.
If he drops Saka after the last round, I'm not watching it. I'll be supporting Germany. I'll not be watching it. But anyway, you guys will be back on Wednesday night to discuss that. I'm not sure if it'll be at 8 or 9, but we'll get that out tomorrow or the day after. And then we will be back obviously next Monday night with the Rumour Mill again. And potentially you may actually be back sooner than that, because if you do get through tomorrow night, I think the quarter final is potentially Saturday night at 8 o'clock.
So maybe back maybe Sunday or Monday night.
Yeah, he'll be back. Yeah, sometime at some point. But other than that, Saka doesn't start. I will not eat for 3 days. Oh. That seems a bit extreme.
That's extreme.
Whatever you want. Right, listen, I'm going to go because I'm going to watch this penalty shootout and see if Xhaka can go home or if France are going to go home. So with that said, thank you all for watching, and we will see you all again soon.